In one of the last videos, I ripped out the old feature wall in here, and now that we've finished the plasterboarding and the taping, it means we're ready to put the new feature wall in. So previously the feature wall was made of pallet wood and old wood like that, but we're going for a more modern look with this one, so it's going to be made out of plywood. The plan basically is to sheet this out with a piece of ply, which will follow around the corners. That's going to get painted, and then we're going to cut some strips of 50mm ply, which is going to make up the slat across the feature wall. So nice and easy. So first things first, we need to go downstairs, go outside and get all the plywood cut. Annoyingly, the workshop's not quite big enough to cut a full sheet of plywood, so we're gonna have to do all the cutting outside. Is what it is. We'll make a mess, I'll just have to clean it up. So I'll go downstairs, get those cut, and then we can get it on the wall. Right, so now all the plywood strips are cut, which took forever by the way. Thankfully the tracks all made it a little bit easier. But now all that's cut, it's time to get it on the wall. So the plan, like I said, is to cover that whole wall with a piece of ply. Now it's going to have to be two pieces because it's just too wide for one. So that's going to get covered. I'm going to stick that on with the expanding foam, same stuff as we used for the plasterboards. So that'll get stuck onto there, left for a little bit to dry. Then that's going to get painted. Then I'll leave the paint to dry. Once the paint's dry, I'm then gonna stick on the vertical slats, and I'll obviously space them out, the correct spacing, etc. I'm gonna stick them on with silicone. They're very light, it's only 9mm ply, so they don't even need nailed on or anything. I'm just gonna silicone them on and they'll be nice and strong. Now I'll explain all that a little bit better when I do it properly, but for now, let's get the main sheets of plywood on and get them painted. So with the end pieces of these that go on the sides, I didn't actually cut them down to size, I cut them to width but left them at full length. So I just need to cut that down to 228. So I've just brought the track saw up and I've just got a piece of insulation to cut to cut on even. That then fits in there nicely. I just left a little gap at the top and I'll obviously lift it when it gets stuck to the wall so that it's flush with the ceiling. So that's the two side pieces fitted, well not fitted but put in place. That side piece there I did cut to length because it's obviously quite a bit shorter. That just needed a little bit off the top, that was quite a bit shorter. So what I've done now is I've just marked up the line where the first board is, so it's a 80cm board, and then I've just measured the height there and the height there, and then I'm just going to run a line between the two and do a straight cut. It does need just a corner taken off, but I'll scribe that in once I've cut the main bit. Now if you watched the video where I ripped everything out, I did keep these pieces, which I can't remember exactly how they went, but I've got a photo of it and I can use them as a template if I need to. So I've got those as an option if I'm having a nightmare fitting it, but hopefully it shouldn't be too bad, because what I've done is made the join right on the edge of here, so the only one that will need cut out is this second board, which is a smaller one, so obviously a bit easier to handle, and hopefully it shouldn't be too bad, because I can obviously notch a bit out and put it into position, and hopefully it'll be alright then. And if I need to put a tiny little slither in there, I can just put a piece in, because obviously that's just the backing. So if I need to, I can like caulk or fill around that anyway, and that'll just be the back part anyway, which is getting painted black, so you won't see that anyway. So I'll get this first piece cut, and then once that piece is cut, I'll get the second piece cut, and then once they're all cut, I'll go and get some foam, and then I'll foam them all into place. I've got to the trickier of the cuts now. The first one obviously just needed the corner taken off nice and easy, but this one needs obviously cut around that beam. So I've laid the template on top, taking into account for the fact that obviously we've added insulation and plasterboard to that ceiling, so there's obviously, this can't line up with the top of this because the ceiling's now lower, but hopefully we've got this roughly right, and I can draw around this roughly anyway. We're looking at something like that. Now it's not the most accurate, but like I said before, it's obviously going to get caulked anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. So I'm just using a multi-tool to cut this out. Just makes things a little bit easier, hopefully. So I'll get this cut out, and then it's just not going to fit first time. I'm not even sure if it's going to fit at all with this piece, just because of how I'll have to put it in. It would have to be perfect, so this piece might just get cut off and stuck back in as an extra piece afterwards, and then I'll just skim over it with a tiny little bit of filler or a bit of caulk just to smooth it out. Right, we've got that roughly cut, so let's lift it into place and see if by any miracle it actually fits in place. It won't. I'm pretty much certain this doesn't go in first time, just because how I've just done that cut. It's just too rough to go in first time. So as you can see, I've definitely got my measurements all wrong there somehow. What I'm going to do though is this board, you can see there's a big gap. So I cut this board slightly short so that it lifts up, if I can, lifts up into place. And there's just a small gap at the bottom. It's going to be a skirting board along the bottom, so what I'm going to do with this one now is just measure roughly how much below there that is. So it's about 40 mil. And I'll take 40 mil off the bottom, and that way hopefully that'll then lift up. It doesn't look far off, to be fair. It just needs 40 mil, not off the bottom, sorry, off the top. Imagine if I'd have cut 40 mil off the bottom, that would have been stupid. So yeah, 40 mil off the top, and hopefully that'll then slot into place. Doesn't obviously look the prettiest, but like I say, it's just going to get filled up to there anyway, and all painted, so not a big issue. Now they're cut, they can be foamed into place. I've got it just propped on a little bit of CLS to keep it in position. I'll stick that to the wall, and obviously as soon as possible So as quick as possible, I'll get this level, and along this side, I'll just make sure it's far enough across that it covers this end piece, because I don't want this end piece sticking out further than here. So at the minute it just needs a little knock across. And that'll be perfect. And then I'll just disregard this piece for now, and that'll go in after with the next bit of foam. Well, I'll probably put this front face on and the two side pieces. Same foam as the plasterboards went on with. So it's obviously meant for sticking sheets to walls. I'm using a bit of an excessive amount of foam on this one, just to make sure it sticks. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
If I was dead confident, I would foam that one up as well so that that was ready to go, but I'm not 100% confident it's going to fit perfect, so I'll get this one up and just make sure that fits before foaming it. To be fair, I could foam this one, kind of makes sense, because that's going straight in. So I'll stick some foam on this one and then I can get that stuck straight away as well. So I'm not sticking this yet, I'm just going to get it roughly up in place so that it's ready to go. Alexa, how long?
You have 1 minute and 20 seconds left on your 5-minute timer.
Let's see how tight this is yet. It's quite tacky, so I'm going to go for it. So I'll still have a little bit of working time that way. Right. Level. Good on the width. Good on the width and level. So just going to run and get some nails, and I'm just going to nail these two pieces together just to make that corner nice. Just working a few nails in, which you won't see anyway. They'll be completely hidden anyway because it's getting painted, and it's I can film anyway if they need filming. Right, we're good. Should have backed myself. Now I've filled and sanded that, I can get a coat of black paint on there, and I'm also going to put a coat of black paint on the beam just to give it some contrast to the ceiling. Now that wall's painted black, it's time to get the slat uprights on. So I brought the chop saw up, and I'm basically going to put a temporary batten across the bottom, which is going to be at the height that the skirting board's going to be at, because we're going to slip the skirting board in afterwards. So I'll put that in, and that gives something for each piece of MDF to, each piece of plywood even, to sit against. I'm going to silicone them on. I'm going to start with just silicone, see how it is. If it sticks alright, I'm just going to use silicone. If not, my dad recommended mixing a little bit of car body filler for the top and the bottom, because that obviously goes off really quickly, and that therefore will stick them into place quickly. I've also got the expanding foam if I need to put a little bit on the top and the bottom of each one of that, but obviously you need to wait 5 minutes for that to go tacky, so that's obviously less ideal. I'm going to cut myself a spacer so that I can put each one up, then put a spacer in to obviously keep the spaces nice. And yeah, just gonna take it one by one and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad, and because they're quite small and light, hopefully the silicone on its own will be enough just to stick them. So what I'm going to start by doing is just marking the centre, because we've got 19 uprights with about 20mm gap between each. So obviously, because it's an odd number, we'll have one directly central. So I'm going to mark the centre, and then I'm going to mark 25mm from the centre each way, and that'll be the width of the first band. So I'm going to start from the centre and work our way out. So we're at 134. So I'm going to mark up 67. And then 25mm either side. So I'll do that in 2 places just to line them up. I'm obviously going to use a spirit level anyway to make sure they're level. You probably can't see the marks because obviously it's against the black, but I've just marked up here and here, and then we'll use that to get the first one in place. And once the first one's in place and level, we'll obviously just use the spacers to then space each one accordingly. Scrap that idea. Basically what I'm going to do is, because these don't have the tendency to move, the silicone's actually grabbing them really well and sticking. It's the 825 like builder's silicone, which is really good and it's nice and sticky. So it doesn't seem to have the tendency to want to move around. So rather than obviously having to cut each one at the top, then cut them to length, what I think I'm going to do is sack that off at the bottom, take the batten away, stick each one on long, and then maybe just put a screw in the bottom to stop them sliding if they do have the tendency to slide, or put a screw underneath or something. And then when I come to do the skirting boards, I'll just run a line across where the bottom is, and then just cut all of those for the skirting boards to be put on, because that took quite a while and it's just slightly awkward having to do it, then put it in there and then mark it and then cut it again and then put it back up and then make sure it fits, and it's just going to take forever. So I'm going to take one of the steps out and then I'll just run a line across, obviously when the skirting boards are ready to go in, and then I'll just cut them all off and the skirting board will slot in anyway, so it just makes it a little bit quicker and saves having to double cut each one, well triple cut each one, because I'm currently cutting them so they'll fit in there, scribing them in, and then obviously having to then cut them to the height of the skirting board. So it just takes out an extra step, and then it's dead easy just to run. I'll probably just run the mini circular saw or just use the multi-tool or something just to cut all of them just in a oneer at the end. Just makes it a little bit quicker, because if not, I just kind of get the feeling it's going to take forever to do this. So I'll do it that way and it's going to be a little bit more efficient and faster. So to finish this feature wall off, I just need to varnish it. That's just going to stop it getting marked, give it a nice finish. You'll obviously notice that suddenly the whole room's decorated, the flooring's down, and the skirting boards are about to be fitted. But I thought it made more sense to complete this in one video, and then obviously I'm doing the flooring and the skirts and everything separate, rather than doing it sort of day by day and mixing and matching everything. So going to get this varnished now. I'm also going to be varnishing the drawers, the radiator cover and all the skirting boards, but I'll obviously do them in the relevant videos. So I'll get this varnished and then that'll be that all finished. Yeah, forgot to mention the varnish I'm using is Everbuild quick dry and clear varnish, and it's a matte finish, so I don't want it to look glossy, I just want the protection. And it's to be applied with a brush, so hopefully it'll sort of self-level itself and leave a nice finish. As always, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe. Make sure you stick around to see the rest of this project, and I'll see you in the next one.